And for more on this, we're joined by economist Cornelia Meyer. She's chairman and CEO at Meyer Resources. Welcome to the programme, Cornelia. Now, as the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, what's the worst case scenario here for oil markets if this ceasefire collapses completely? And are we talking about prices well above $100 again, or even higher than pre-ceasefire levels?
Well, good morning, and thank you very much for having me. Yes, we are talking about very much higher oil prices. And when you look at how the two positions are very far apart, right now we have a ceasefire, but the understanding of Islamabad and Iran are very different from the understandings of the US and Israel, especially as far as Lebanon is affected. So in that sense, it's very difficult, and really the Strait of Hormuz is an international waterway. So ships should pass through, but ever since the beginning of hostilities, Iran has essentially ceased possession of the straits.
And how sustainable are these higher prices for the global economy? Are we starting to enter dangerous territory for growth and inflation?
Well, yes, we are starting to, for both growth and inflation. And, you know, when we look at COVID, it's about the same amount of disruption, only this time it's a supply disruption, not a demand disruption. Demand disruptions are easier. You know, what happens is demand comes back and the supply is there. Here we have infrastructure impact, especially if you look at Qatar and LNG. And so getting that realigned, and, you know, the Strait of Hormuz is not about oil and gas only. It's about fertilizer. It's about helium. It's about alloys, you know, aluminium and so on that pass through, which are vital inputs to industrial production. So we are looking at industrial production downturn. You're looking at Asia. They're already facing really heavy impact. They curb demand. They tell people to drive less, work only 4 days, and so on. Europe will be hit as well, especially when Asia and Europe compete for LNG and from the US, and also a lot of the kerosene, jet fuel, diesel and so on gets refined either on the other side of Hormuz or in Asia, and then finds its way to Europe. So we will see physical shortages. This is pretty bad.
So do the current prices reflect reality, given that 20% of global oil is still blocked?
Well, I think they don't really. And when I saw them coming down so markedly on a Tuesday night from Tuesday to Wednesday, I said this cannot hold. Markets just react to every little bit of news, and we will see increased volatility, which is very bad. If you try to operate anything, you need planning certainty. So that's out of the window. So I think if the Straits of Hormuz remains closed, or it's not closed, it's sort of de facto closed, and some ships can pass through. But if that remains the case, then yes, prices will go much higher.
And looking at the proposed Tehran toll, how likely is that to be a permanent fixture? And if so, what would be the global implications of it?
Well, that is really the problem, and it shouldn't really. There should not be a Tehran toll, because really, a Strait of Hormuz, as I said, is an international waterway, which is regulated by the IMO, the International Maritime Organization of the UN, but they have no teeth of implementation, and also they're very much underfunded. So yes, that is really a problem, and it will not. I don't think it will be acceptable to the Gulf nations. It will not be acceptable to most shippers. So one will need to find, one will need to find a solution there. I actually look at what happened when the Ukraine-Russia conflict broke out and Turkey negotiated free passage from Odessa to the global markets of grain and fertilizer. So that could be something that can be negotiated, but it's not going to be easy.
And how soon do you think these prices will start to be felt at the pump?
Oh, that will be felt very, very, very soon, because what you see is whenever prices at the pump, whenever crude goes up, prices at the pump immediately go up. But whenever they have to come down, the companies are much slower in letting them go down. But they will be immediately be felt. And that constitutes a problem for Donald Trump, because he has midterms in November. And the other thing that he has is he has a driving season come up in the summer, and people want to drive, and if they can't afford to drive there, he's in trouble. It's especially bad in Asia, where it's just, if you're a jeepney driver in the Philippines, you cannot afford driving your jeepney. You lose your household income.
Cornelia Meyer, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much for joining us on TRT World.
Thank you very much indeed.